Welcome to the Halo Effect, hospitality stories with Ashleigh and Michael Donald. Hospitality isn't just our profession, it's our passion. With decades of experience and countless stories to share, we've navigated the highs and lows of this dynamic industry, not just as professionals, but as a husband and wife team tackling the challenges of business and life together. This podcast is your invitation to step behind the curtain of the hospitality world. We'll share real experiences, lessons learned, and the moments that have shaped our journey, offering inspiration and insights for anyone walking a similar path. Whether you're just starting out or have years under your belt, we're here to remind you that every challenge is an opportunity and every story has the power to inspire. After Ubud, we went up the coast again to Amed Coast. It was about a 3-hour drive on really bad roads. Sort of
scenic roads.
Scenic, yeah. But you know, you could, a lot of motorcycles, a lot of people with surfboards on motorcycles, and really
live
busy
chickens
traffic
getting
and
delivered.
live chicken, everything. But it is busy and it is a long journey. It's probably only about 50 miles, I think. I know it took about 3 hours.
Yeah.
So it's a challenge, but worth it when you get there.
Yeah, and I think because we were there, so we were away for 4 weeks in total, which is longest really we've been away. So I think because we had that time, it was great to explore a few different places.
Yeah.
And then once we were in those places, we stayed very local, so we weren't kind of jumping and adding to the congestion. But the Amed Coast still felt very, it was developing, but it was still, I would say, relatively undeveloped. Big diver, snorkeling sort of community, lots of really amazing warungs and lots of seafood, obviously, with it being right on the coast. And we stayed in an amazing homestay, the most beautiful views, and right next to this, they called it the Japanese wreck, which I thought was the other wreck in Tullamarine, but anyway, a nice coincidence. And we stayed with it was a Balinese family, and so Lou, who is from Bali, and then her husband, who is originally from America, but he'd lived there for about 30 years, and I think he actually built it was all kind of wooden, and
George.
But George, he built it all. It was brilliant. And again, just that whole welcoming made us, it was just like home, literally. A homestay, and we had such lovely conversations and insights, and Lou just absolutely doted on the kids, and again gave them gifts when we left. And they had a couple of dogs that I think they'd kind of adopted, which our youngest is obsessed with, so he was kind of looking after them. And we did have to have that kind of conversation about, just for dogs that we know and where we were in homestays, but don't kind of touch any dogs on the street, and particularly in some of the areas that you've just got to be so careful. So it was just trying to sort of just have those conversations with the kids, and in addition to kind of dogs and cats, also they would see other animals in we avoided any sort of captive animals in zoos, but we went to an elephant sanctuary in Phuket, which we did loads of research just to sort of check the ethics. And
because when you were in Phuket, there would have been a lot of elephant rides and things.
There was elephant rides, not in the hotels necessarily from rides, but there would be in a car park in in somewhere off the motorway, there would be elephant rides, which just so cruel. And then also in a lot of the 5-star resorts, there would be elephants that would come and interact with the guests for a couple of hours a day, which at the time, and when I was working there, you just kind of, I don't know, you would be so excited to kind of see this amazing elephant, but then actually after the fact and on reflection, you sort of look at where's that elephant come from, and often they'd be sort of rented by somebody that perhaps were, I don't know, working out of northern Thailand, and would bring the elephants down, and it was just but thankfully I think that has been recognised now, and there's a huge effort to sort of rehabilitate elephants that have worked in the tourism industry and the logging industry, I think in particular, that there was a huge kind of, this is going back like, 100 plus years in terms of elephants being used in the logging industry. So I think that trying to then bring and to kind of rehabilitate the elephants who, unfortunately on very rare occasions, I think will have the opportunity to return to the wild. But the sanctuary that we went to had, quite a large enclosure of land, and it was like sort of mixture of like there was rainforest, there were sort of lowlands, there was water, there was places that they could eat, and I thought that they did it really well. So we went along for like a couple of hours, and they explained really well about the reason why they exist and what they do, and that each elephant still has a mahout, so the person that kind of looks after them and just them, and just the elephant person, isn't it? Really trusts the mahout, and the mahouts actually stay within the whole place, and they've got like a little home there. So every day they're looking after the noon till night the elephant, and they still try to get the elephant to be as independent as possible. One of the things that we loved doing was the feeding of the elephants, but actually we prepared lots of different types of food, and then you put it out, and the elephant kind of comes over, and they just pick what they want, eat what they want, and kind of move on. But it's just they're sort of invited to kind of come and get it, but it's not sort of a feeding at the zoo type experience.
They specifically said we don't tell the elephants what to do or when. We follow the elephants around.
Yes,
that was kind of fairly crucial to the whole experience. But at the same time, if you get food out, an elephant's going to come.
Exactly.
Like when they knew it was feeding time, they were far away. I just looked it up there, but 1989 they became illegal logging. So that's when they ended up moving into more circus style.
And because there was a whole almost like population of elephants that suddenly, and they're so revered, and they're such a symbol of Thailand.
Yeah, absolutely. On everything, aren't they? On the football jerseys, on bottles of beer, on
it's everything. I know, like a sort of national symbol. But it was a really good opportunity to not only see these amazing creatures, but like have that conversation with the kids as well about it, and sort of asking them their thought. And they're so aware of that like captivity and what was going on. I thought that was amazing. And then so back to Bali. So we'd had this amazing time in Amed, and then we so you mentioned Sanur. So after Amed we headed down to Sanur on the east coast, and so that was kind of coming into week 3, and I think we sort of purposely considered, okay, we'll be kind of 3 weeks in. We sort of went from being in very sort of rustic homestays to having our own villa again, and also because we were like, a bit of a working holiday, we need to just make sure we've got good Wi-Fi access in case we need to like dip in and do client reports or check in with anything, and Sanur was great for a lovely stretch of beach, the pathway that you could cycle, and we rented bikes, very calm water in the sea, and also I think it was good value in terms of what we were able to get accommodation wise, and lovely little back roads that we went to these local warungs, and there was the big Bali mall was there, and then the big hospital was there, so it was quite developed. And I think Sanur was the first kind of resort destination in Bali. It would have been in the 70s, and I think particularly with a lot of Australian like package tours and things, so it did feel a lot more developed, I would say, than other parts of Bali, but I think probably for where we were in the holiday, just to kind of get a few sort of home comforts and pop to the mall, and it worked really well. But I'm really pleased that we got to see other parts of Bali, because we were really torn between the whole like Seminyak, Canggu, Kuta, but I think we were just probably thinking, it's just going to be so busy. So it was comparatively more quiet, and there were like the little food market that we went to, which was very Balinese, and I mean the food was real like local street food, so there was still authentic Balinese experiences, but I would say it was much more developed than other places. But it was kind of perfectly timed, I think, for the trip. There were some great food experiences. I remember that warung down on the beach
near the sort of the kids' play area in the shade. Well, it was also nearby to huge hotels where a lot of other tourists were sort of sitting out in the sunshine and topping up their tans. But I think at that stage we were very happy to sit in the shade as much as possible. Yeah,
and a lot of the hotel team members were coming. Balinese
local hotel teams, and
it was really nice to
young
sort of
families.
see.
It was lovely, and the food was incredible. Like, the food was incredible. It was just a soup with bits in it, but just absolutely amazing. I think oftentimes we were always kind of looking for those kind of more local experiences, even though we're in a very sort of touristy area. If there were ever those opportunities to try and eat like a local, we took them, which was harder to come by, I suppose, in Sanur than anyone else, but I guess very easy to come by in our next destination.
It was. So from Sanur, we've said goodbye to Bali and we headed up to Bangkok, which we both love Bangkok, don't we?
We could have avoided. We could have done other
just
things.
Headed straight back.
And actually, even when we were looking at it, we could have probably made it to Australia.
Certainly Western Australia.
It's only sort of 3-4 hours.
Yeah.
From Bali, it could possibly have done that, but I really wanted to go to Bangkok. I find I've only been once before. Actually, it was your kind of regular weekend away, I suppose, when you were in the region. But for me, it was just a completely different world, and it felt like so many of my holidays in my 20s were to cities, whether it be to London or to New York or wherever. It was often sort of city break holidays, and for me, Bangkok is it's a mega city that is just different to any of the others I'd been to before. Whether the smells and the sights and the sounds and everything about it was very, very special. And I thought going there with the family would be another different experience to have, and it absolutely was. It was the first sort of really nice hotel that we stayed in on the trip, and it was great to do that. We really missed having a little kitchen or having that kind of thing, but when you have all the street food options in
literally
Bangkok
on the door, wasn't it?
Available on the doorstep, it's very easy to continue eating out every single day, 2 or 3 times a day.
The theme of the trip centered around the food, and it was really hard to decide like what location of Bangkok, because again, when I worked for what is now Marriott, so it was Starwood at the time, do I miss our Star Hot team discounts, but we would have probably at the time maybe 8 hotels dotted around the city, which you would just, depending on what you were doing in Bangkok, kind of stay at them. But probably one of my favourites was the Royal Orchid Sheraton, which is right on the Chao Phraya River, and I think that's because it was the first hotel that I really went to in Bangkok, and also it's just the river is such a kind of central part and so iconic. So we definitely knew we wanted to be by the river, but then I think having the conveniences of access to the Skytrain and the metro and the kind of shopping districts, and then there's some new neighbourhoods that have kind of sprung up like Ekamai that we wanted to be close to. So we kind of ended up staying just off Sukhumvit, so Soy 11, so really close to the Skytrain, but then not far from Sukhumvit MRT, far enough in a tuk-tuk, which the kids were delighted. I think that was the big like transport highlight for them, was the tuk-tuk. But I mean, the Skytrain, how cool is the Skytrain? So we loved that, the metro, and just everything's just so accessible, and we kind of did a bit of everything, didn't we? Sort of went to the malls, wanting to get some like Thai football related merchandise for the kids, and then doing the whole MBK and Siam kind of malls. And then just the trip down the river, I mean, is just brilliant, and it's just so cheap. I mean, gosh, I can't even, it was like 30 baht, I think. We went up to Wat Pho, which, I mean, it was incredibly hot. I think that was the biggest challenge. The temperature in Bali was actually really lovely and manageable, I think, from a heat perspective, and it sort of cooled down in the evenings, whereas, I mean, Bangkok is just relentless. It is hot. But we tried to sort of duck in and out and plenty of shade. But yeah, we did Wat Pho, which is the reclining Buddha. I mean, it's just so beautiful, and I would say probably, in my view, one of the iconic Thai temples, right on the river. And again, you know, ducking into some local food places. It was just so hot, and we ended up getting sort of juices made from the like local vendor, and they were sort of like welcoming us in and getting all their plastic chairs, like, come and sit in, and you know, chatting to the Thai families. And I just, everywhere we went, there was some like cultural immersion. It was fantastic. And then the kids did some like amazing like VR stuff, which again was just really to get out of the heat of the day, and being sort of
you do find yourself trying to find things to do indoors, whether it be cinema or just in the malls, or
just to kind of just at that heat of the day. But I think probably the biggest highlight, I think for all of us in Bangkok, fair to say, is when we went out to Chinatown, which just love it.
Street food tour, and it was. We actually used a bit of ChatGPT to kind of help curate our street food tour, which was really fascinating to see what it sort of came up with, and we sort of cross-checked it against sort of Google Maps and things like that to get some good places. But it did a great job, whether it be the noodle soups or the little bread balls with the pandan custard.
Incredible. A few insects,
and any videos we've sort of shared in the past, or pictures we've shared, it's pretty much me chickening out of eating scorpions. Whether that's what I think of when I see that. There were a lot of restaurants serving the shark fin soup, which we avoided.
And had a good conversation with the kids about why. Again, it was one of those
educational moment as well, but an incredible place, just really lively, bustling, and really fun, and kids were kind of open to it. They were kind of experimenting as much as possible.
They were great, and I think so. We did that street food tour sort of off our own, you know, independently. We sort of did that ourselves. But I think on a previous trip, we went to Marrakesh, and we did do an organised street food tour, because I think we were, I guess, just wanted to like navigate the souks and feel confident with the kids, and just, I think, to kind of get a bit of a feeling for the place early on, and they loved that. So I think it was a bit reminiscent of that, but doing it on our own sort of schedule. But they were really up for it, and you know, were very open to trying lots of new things, and it was fantastic. So it was just amazing to kind of experience Bangkok again.
So what do you think were the biggest differences in Bangkok in particular since you were there?
I mean, definitely the like having a map to know where I was going, because I just sort of helps. It was just landmarks and kind of navigating my way, and then I think again the apps and the like food delivery and the getting taxis, and you know, we had to, you know, obviously go on the tuk-tuk. I think the kids were just dying to do that, it was interesting. One of the taxis that I got, and I was just on my own and popping up to Siam, was he was a taxi driver, but he had worked previously for like 30 odd years in hotels at like really high level, and he had wanted to retire and just, you know, kind of dip in and out of driving his car, but he'd been approached by Bumrungrad Hospital to kind of set up their set up the hospital like a 5-star hotel. So Bumrungrad is one of the international medical centres, not far from Sukhumvit, and I think it's frequented by people all over the world, I think particularly from the Middle East, and because of his experience in 5-star hospitality, he was now then moving into that medi-tourism field. So it was really interesting to have a conversation with him about applying those kind of principles of luxury hospitality to the medical world. So just, I think, kind of interesting conversations, and just, I suppose, to see how, Bangkok, which is regularly voted, I would say, in like the sort of top 10 cities in the world, is, I would say, it's embracing all of the technology and all of the trends and, these amazing buildings and transport, but it's still kind of retaining that cultural and historical identity, which makes it so special. I think it's really interesting to see how it's managed to protect that, the real essence of...
Thai people are very, very proud and protective of that culture, aren't they? They're very proud that they were never colonized, and everything is built around making sure that they keep control of everything, really. In many ways, they don't want to be colonized either by a nation or by other big businesses that are owned outside of the country, and there's a lot of infighting goes on around it, as you can see in the politics and everything like that. But it does retain that feel in the exact same way as it did anytime I've been there in the past. It is incredible. And I think the medi-tourism piece, I think it is fascinating. It's something that Bali is pushing towards, isn't it? With the, you mentioned it there, so that was a large hospital opening where we were in Sanur.
So it was a hotel, I think. It was one of the original hotels that Amed somehow got around planning, and it was a lot taller than any building. And I think since then they've sort of said nothing taller than a palm tree. So it does kind of like stick out along the coast. But they've completely...
Alongside a huge mall that they've built also.
Yes.
But it's...
But they've totally transformed that into an international hospital, and I think looking to appeal to that international traveller. And I mean, we anecdotally, speaking to people who were saying, there's kind of an aspiration for some of the leaders of the country that Bali becomes almost like the next Hong Kong, the next Singapore. So it'll be interesting to see if that happens. And there's indeed talk of another airport in the north of the island, which would change the dynamic of the island in a very kind of significant way, because I think that the north part is still very rustic and kind of relatively undeveloped, whereas the sort of south of Bali, where the airport is, and you've got all of the big brand resorts down, kind of circling around from Uluwatu, and kind of all around that sort of southern tip. So it'd be interesting if that happens, and even if it's sort of a Southeast Asian and Australian kind of influx of sort of medi-tourists, or indeed further afield from the Middle East. But I think that's something that Bangkok, Phuket and other sort of major hubs in Thailand have done really well. I think they've diversified their tourism. So you've still got the kind of quite well-trodden backpacker trail and the full moon parties in Koh Phangan, and the diving communities in Koh Tao. You've then got more family travellers that are kind of coming back, like next generation with their kids, and sort of showing them medi-tourism. And then I mean, Bangkok is just such a and it supports not just international tourists, but there's a big expat community there that work in the international schools as well. So you've got these schools that are affiliated with some of the best universities like Harrow, that are bringing international students in from all over the world to study there. So it has done a fantastic job, I think, of within the tourism sector that it relies heavily upon for from a GDP perspective. It's diversified to kind of manage that, and then you've of course got the White Lotus effect, and huge uptake, which I know we did a episode on that specifically in Koh Samui and Phuket. And just kind of positioning that as this paradise. And then of course, so just I suppose in terms of medi-tourism and potentially a bit more alternative medi-tourism, is a big change that the legalization of cannabis in the country. So as of now, when we issue the website, the podcast, it is decriminalized is the right word, or legalized?
It's a funny one in Thailand. Yeah, because I mean, if you go to Thailand, there's cannabis shops on every street corner. Pretty much where we went, there was something everywhere. From other programs and podcasts that I've listened to, it does feel like it is legal to buy, or at least decriminalized to buy. I think you pretty much can get away with smoking it in places until someone complains, and if someone then complains, then you'll have to stop. But I think the law could change at any time as well. It is something that I think generally tourists, if they're spending money in the right places and doing and not interrupting other people from spending money, I think generally get away with stuff.
Yeah,
they kind of
tolerated.
Yeah.
And
I think similar to the sort
areas.
of other industries in Thailand, like the sex industry, that it's also very much sort of known for good and bad reasons. It seems like it's still something that is sort of tolerated. The police tolerate it, even though there's still quite serious laws against it. It's tolerated when money is being spent, and probably if people are paying their taxes and doing that in the business, that probably is where that gets allowed. But it wasn't something that we experienced on a family holiday.
No, that was one of the things that we just the tourists.
We kind of observed it from a distance. There was one point there was a venue called the Bunny Bar that had some big TVs showing football that our kids really wanted to go into, which everyone who was working in the bar found absolutely hilarious. My youngest was trying to drag me up by the steps into the Bunny Bar at one point, but we thought, hey, let's go somewhere a little bit more family friendly. But an incredible experience for everyone. Different experience with traveling with family than ever before.
I mean, there was definitely more consideration of how we would plan our days and that whole like slow travel of just taking our time, trying to get there and experience a culture along the way, and the journey is as much as destination. All of those things I think we really tried to kind of embody with our planning. We used ChatGPT, and you mentioned that for the Chinatown tour, but it was so helpful with planning, kind of just suggested itineraries for places and trying to work out where we should be, and whilst we had 4 weeks, so there was plenty of time, there was still that pressure of I just want to make sure I've like made the right decisions and we've maximized the time and the opportunity. But I think it was tempting to have something to do every day, but actually it really wasn't necessary. And I think we kind of realised that, and we sort of, very happy to just have a day like pottering around locally and not necessarily having to have some sort of activity. And then there was definitely days where we needed an activity, or we needed to, kind of split off a little bit and do a couple of things that maybe interested, part of the family more than the other, and then come back together. Because, ultimately 4 weeks all together. And, there was no kind of kids clubs that we could stick the kids in or anything else like that. And I think, in recent family holidays, we've been away with other families. And so there's that sort of distraction. So I think, there was definitely, whilst you're away and there's so much kind of cultural immersion and everything else, you're still trying to navigate like siblings quarrels and being ungrateful that they didn't want this and stuff like that. But I think the experience and just even hearing the sort of reflections and hearing the kids talk to their friends about certain things that they experienced, and the little memories of the smallest little situations that they were in, or an interaction that they had, or someone that they met that they are telling these stories. And so it's lovely actually after the fact as well that they're still remembering and relating to this. And so It was. It was a fantastic experience, and we're very lucky that we work in such an amazing global hospitality industry that allows us to travel globally and still work with our clients, albeit we did down tools most of the time for a lot of that. So yeah, it just instills that real pride for the industry and for travel, and just what travel brings to broadening horizons and appreciation of different cultures, which I think is really important and a lovely thing to kind of experience early on with the kids as well. So looking forward to planning the next trip.
Thank you for listening to The Halo Effect, Hospitality Stories with Ashleigh and Michael Donald. We hope today's episode has offered some insights and encouragement to anyone navigating the world of hospitality or entrepreneurship. We'd love to hear from you. If you have a question, want to suggest a topic, or interested in just joining us as a guest, you'll find our contact details in the show notes. Don't forget to follow, like, or subscribe to The Halo Effect on your favourite podcast platform so you never miss an episode. Until next time, thank you, and we can't wait to welcome you back for more stories and inspiration.